Most home gardens are full of crops that look pretty but won't keep you fed when money gets tight or store shelves go empty. The good news is a few smart choices can change everything. After 3 decades of growing food, I've learned which crops truly deliver. Today I'm sharing 20 ultra-productive survival crops. Stay tuned for number 16, a perennial onion that practically plants itself, plus a bonus tip that could double your storage life. The first survival crop every gardener should consider is potatoes. When it comes to calories per square foot, nothing in the vegetable garden comes close. A single plant can produce several pounds of dense, filling food that stores for months in any cool, dark spot. The variety Kennebec stands out as an excellent choice for survival gardening. It produces large, smooth tubers with high yields and resists common diseases like late blight. Potatoes grow well in zones 3 through 10, making them suitable for nearly every climate in the country. Plant them in early spring as soon as the soil can be worked, or try a late summer planting for a fall harvest in milder regions. They prefer loose, well-drained soil and benefit from hilling, which means mounding soil around the stems as they grow. This encourages more tubers to form and keeps them from turning green in the sunlight. Harvest when the foliage dies back, then cure them in a dry, shaded spot for a week or 2 before storing. Kept in a cool basement or root cellar around 40 degrees, your potatoes can last well into spring. Few crops offer this combination of ease, yield, and long storage that makes them so valuable when times get difficult. The second crop to prioritize is dry beans. Unlike green beans picked fresh, these are left on the vine until the pods turn brown and papery, then harvested for long-term storage. Black turtle beans are a particularly good variety for home growers. They mature reliably, resist disease, and produce dense, protein-packed seeds that store for years when kept dry. Growing dry beans is straightforward. Wait until after your last frost when the soil has warmed, then direct sow the seeds about 1 inch deep and 4 inches apart. They grow in zones 3 through 10 during the warm months and need no special care beyond occasional watering during dry spells. Bush varieties save space, while pole types produce more beans over a longer season. When the leaves yellow and the pods rattle, pull the whole plants and hang them to finish drying under cover. Once completely dry, shell the beans by hand or by beating the pods in a bag. Store them in airtight containers in a cool, dark place. A modest patch of dry beans can yield enough protein to supplement your meals for months. Combined with stored grains, they form a complete protein source that has sustained families through hard times for generations. The third survival crop on our list is winter squash. These are the large, hard-shelled varieties you harvest in fall and store through winter, not the tender summer types like zucchini. Waltham butternut is the gold standard for survival gardening. It produces reliable yields of tan. Bell-shaped fruits with sweet orange flesh packed with vitamins and natural sugars. Winter squash grows well in zones 3 through 10, needing warm soil and a long season of around 100 days. Start seeds indoors before your last frost, or direct sow once the ground has warmed. Give each plant plenty of room to sprawl, as vines can reach 10 feet or more. Water deeply but infrequently, and let the fruits mature on the vine until the stems begin to dry and the skin resists a fingernail scratch. After harvest, cure them in a warm spot for about 2 weeks. This toughens the skin and concentrates the sugars. Once cured, butternut squash stored in a cool, dry room will keep for 6 months or longer without refrigeration. A single healthy vine can produce 8 to 10 fruits, providing dozens of filling meals from just one plant. That kind of return makes winter squash essential for any food security garden. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps this video reach more gardeners like yourself who would also find this information helpful. All right, let's continue. The fourth crop that deserves a place in your survival garden is grain corn, also called dent corn. This is not the sweet corn you eat fresh off the cob. Instead, grain corn is left to dry on the stalk, then harvested and ground into cornmeal, grits, or mesa. Reed's Yellow Dent is a time-tested variety that produces large ears with deep kernels full of starchy calories. It grows in zones 3 through 10, needing warm soil and about 110 days to mature. Plant in blocks rather than single rows to ensure good pollination, spacing seeds about 10 inches apart. Once the stalks turn brown and the kernels dent inward at the top, the ears are ready. Pull back the husks and let them continue drying on the stalk or in a protected spot until the kernels are rock hard. Store dried ears in a rodent-proof container, or shell them and keep the kernels in sealed buckets. With a simple hand mill, you can grind fresh cornmeal whenever you need it. Cornmeal stores for years and forms the base for countless meals, from cornbread and polenta to tortillas and porridge. Growing your own grain puts a true staple food under your control, independent of supply chains and store shelves. The fifth survival crop to grow is sweet potatoes. These heat-loving roots produce an impressive amount of food in a relatively small space, and they thrive in conditions that would stress other vegetables. Beauregard is the variety most widely grown by home gardeners, valued for its high yields, disease resistance, and rich orange flesh. Sweet potatoes grow best in zones 4 through 11, planted after all danger of frost has passed and the soil has warmed. Start with slips, which are small rooted shoots, grown from a mature sweet potato. Set them into loose, sandy soil or raised mounds, spacing about 12 inches apart. The vines will spread vigorously, shading out weeds and protecting the soil. Sweet potatoes handle drought well once established, making them reliable in uncertain weather. Harvest before the first hard frost by carefully digging around each plant. After harvest, cure the roots in a warm, humid spot for about 10 days. This converts starches to sugars and toughens the skin for storage. Properly cured sweet potatoes keep for 6 months or more in a cool room. As a bonus, the leafy greens are edible and nutritious, giving you 2 crops from 1 planting. The 6th crop on our list is Jerusalem artichoke, often called sunchoke. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with artichokes or Jerusalem. It's actually a type of sunflower that produces knobby, starchy tubers underground. Stampede is an early maturing variety that yields well even in short-season climates. Jerusalem artichokes grow in zones 3 through 9 and tolerate poor soil, drought, and neglect better than almost any other food crop. Plant the tubers in early spring about 4 inches deep and 12 inches apart. By midsummer, the plants shoot up tall stalks topped with small yellow flowers. The tubers form underground and can be harvested after frost kills back the foliage. Here's what makes them remarkable for survival gardening. Any tubers left in the ground will sprout the following spring, giving you a perennial food source that returns year after year without replanting. You can dig what you need through winter as long as the ground isn't frozen solid, or mulch heavily to extend your harvest window. The tubers don't store as long as potatoes above ground, but they keep perfectly in the soil. For anyone wanting a crop that practically takes care of itself, sunchokes deliver dependable calories with almost no effort. The 7th survival crop worth growing is cowpeas, also known as southern peas or black-eyed peas. These legumes thrive in heat and drought that would wilt most beans, making them ideal for southern gardens or hot, dry summers anywhere. California black-eye. Number of 46 is a proven variety with strong yields and excellent flavor, both fresh and dried. Cowpeas grow in zones 5 through 11, planted after the soil has thoroughly warmed in late spring or early summer. Direct sow seeds about 1 inch deep and 4 inches apart. Like other legumes, cowpeas fix nitrogen from the air into the soil, improving fertility for future crops. You can harvest the pods young and eat them like green beans, or let them mature and dry on the vine for storage. Dried cowpeas keep for years in airtight containers and provide valuable protein and fiber. The plants themselves can be tilled under as green manure after harvest, adding organic matter and nitrogen back to the garden. In regions with long summers, you can often squeeze in 2 plantings. For gardeners in hot climates where traditional beans struggle, cowpeas offer a reliable path to homegrown protein that doesn't depend on perfect conditions. The 8th crop every survival gardener needs is kale and collards. These cold, hardy greens keep producing long after other vegetables have given up, supplying vital nutrients when fresh food becomes scarce. Lacinato col, sometimes called dinosaur col or Tuscan col, is especially productive and handles both heat and cold remarkably well. Cols and collards grow in zones 3 through 10, thriving in the cool weather of spring and fall. Direct sow seeds or transplant seedlings about 18 inches apart. Both are cut and come-again crops, meaning you harvest the outer leaves while the plant continues producing new growth from the center. A single planting can feed you for months. Light frosts actually improve the flavor by converting starches to sugars, so these greens often taste best in late fall and early winter. In mild climates, they can survive the entire winter under row cover or a simple cold frame. The leaves are packed with vitamins A, C, and K, plus calcium and iron. You can eat them fresh in salads, sautéed as a side dish, or added to soups and stews. When other crops fade, a bed of kale and collards keeps your garden productive and your table supplied with fresh, nutritious food. The 9th crop to add to your survival garden is cabbage, specifically storage varieties bred to last through winter. Unlike tender spring cabbages, storage types form dense, heavy heads that hold up for months in a cool root cellar or refrigerator. Brunswick is a classic heirloom known for producing large solid heads that store exceptionally well. Cabbage grows in zones 3 through 9. Preferring the cool temperatures of spring and fall. Start seeds indoors about 6 weeks before your last frost, then transplant seedlings 18 inches apart once they've developed a few true leaves. Keep plants well watered and watch for cabbage worms, which can be controlled with row covers or a gentle organic spray. Harvest when heads feel firm and solid, cutting the stem just below the head. For longest storage, leave a few wrapper leaves intact and keep the heads in a cold, humid environment just above freezing. Properly stored cabbage lasts 3 to 4 months, sometimes longer. Beyond fresh eating, cabbage can be fermented into sauerkraut, a traditional preservation method that creates a probiotic-rich food requiring no refrigeration or canning. A dozen cabbage plants take up modest space, yet provide an enormous amount of food that bridges the gap between fall harvest and spring planting. The 10th survival crop on our list is carrots, particularly storage varieties with strong roots that hold up over time. Danvers 126 is a dependable choice that produces sturdy, tapered roots with excellent flavor and outstanding keeping quality. Carrots grow in zones 3 through 10, tolerating light frosts that actually sweeten their flavor. Sow seeds directly in loose, stone-free soil about a quarter-inch deep, then thin seedlings to stand 2 inches apart. Carrots are slow to germinate, sometimes taking 2 to 3 weeks, so be patient and keep the seedbed moist. For a winter supply, plant your main crop in midsummer so roots mature as temperatures cool and fall. One of the best features of carrots is that they can overwinter right in the ground. Cover the bed with a thick layer of straw or leaves before hard freezes arrive. And you can dig fresh roots all winter long whenever the soil thaws enough to work. Alternatively, harvest in late fall and store in buckets of damp sand in a cold basement or root cellar. Either way, carrots provide sweet, nutrient-dense calories deep into the cold months when other fresh vegetables are just a memory. The 11th crop that belongs in a survival garden is turnips and rutabagas. These fast-growing roots give you 2 harvests in one, since both the roots and the leafy greens are edible and nutritious. Purple Top White Globe is a classic turnip variety that matures quickly, often in just 50 days, and produces smooth, mild roots perfect for roasting or mashing. Turnips and rutabagas grow well in zones 3 through 9. thriving in the cooler weather of spring and fall. Direct sow seeds about half an inch deep, thinning to 4 inches apart for turnips and 6 inches for the larger rutabagas. These crops tolerate light frost and actually develop better flavor after a cold snap. Harvest turnips when roots reach 2 to 3 inches across, or leave them longer for larger storage roots. Rutabagas need more time, usually 90 days, but reward you with dense, sweet roots that store for months in a root cellar. Both crops also produce abundant greens that can be harvested as the roots develop. In a survival situation, this dual-purpose nature means more food from less space. When you need a quick crop to fill gaps in your garden or extend your harvest into cold weather, turnips and rutabagas deliver. The 12th survival crop to consider is beets, especially storage varieties bred for long keeping. Detroit Dark Red has been a garden favorite for over a century, producing uniform, deep red roots with sweet, earthy flavor and excellent storage potential. Beets grow reliably in zones 3 through 10, handling cool weather better than heat. Plant seeds directly in the garden about half an inch deep and an inch apart, then thin to 3 to 4 inches as seedlings develop. What looks like a single beet seed is actually a cluster containing multiple seeds, so thinning is essential. Beets mature in about 60 days but can be left in the ground longer without becoming woody. For storage, harvest before hard freezes, twist off the tops leaving an inch of stem, and pack the roots in damp sand or sawdust in a cold cellar. Stored this way, beets keep for 4 to 5 months. Like turnips, beets give you 2 crops from one planting. The greens are highly nutritious and can be harvested throughout the season without harming root development if you take only a few leaves at a time. Between the roots and greens, a single bed of beets contributes significantly to your food security. The 13th crop on our survival list is amaranth, a remarkable plant that provides both nutritious grain and edible leaves from one planting. Golden Giant is an excellent variety that grows tall stalks topped with golden seed heads, while producing tender leaves for cooking greens. Amaranth thrives in zones 4 through 11 and actually prefers heat that would stress other crops, making it valuable for hot, dry summers. A direct sow tiny seeds on the soil surface after your last frost, pressing them in lightly since they need light to germinate. Thin plants to about 18 inches apart. Through the growing season, harvest young leaves like spinach for salads or cooking. By late summer, large seed heads form at the top of each stalk. When the heads begin to shed seeds, cut them and hang upside down over a sheet to catch the grain as it dries. Thresh by rubbing the dried heads and winnow away the chaff. Amaranth grain is high in protein and contains all essential amino acids, which is rare for a plant food. It can be cooked like porridge, popped like tiny popcorn, or ground into flour. For gardeners seeking crops that produce real sustenance in difficult conditions, amaranth stands out. The 14th survival crop to grow is sorghum, a drought-tolerant grain that thrives where corn struggles. Sugar drip is a dual-purpose variety that produces both grain for grinding and sweet stalks that can be pressed into syrup. Sorghum grows well in zones 5 through 10, planted after the soil warms in late spring. Direct sow seeds about an inch deep and 4 inches apart in rows, or broadcast more thickly if growing primarily for grain. The plants look similar to corn, but tolerate heat, drought, and poor soil far better. For grain harvest, wait until the seed heads mature and dry on the stalk, then cut and thresh like other small grains. The grain stores for years and can be cooked whole like rice, popped, or ground into flour. For flatbreads and porridge. For syrup, cut the stalks before frost, strip the leaves and crush them to extract the juice. Boiling down the juice produces a dark, rich sweetener similar to molasses. In regions with hot summers and unreliable rainfall, sorghum offers food security that water-hungry crops cannot match. It also makes excellent animal feed if you keep chickens or livestock. Few plants give you this combination of grain, sweetener, and fodder from a single easy-to-grow crop. The 15th crop every survival garden needs is garlic. This pungent bulb does far more than add flavor to simple meals. It stores for many months, offers well-documented health benefits, and grows with minimal effort in most climates. Music is a hardneck variety known for large, easy-to-peel cloves and robust flavor that holds up in storage. Garlic grows in zones 3 through 8 for hardneck types and zones 5 through 9 for softneck varieties. Plant individual cloves in fall, about 6 weeks before the ground freezes, setting them 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart with the pointed end facing up. Mulch the bed with straw to protect against winter cold and suppress spring weeds. By early summer, hardneck varieties send up curly flower stalks called scapes, which should be cut to direct energy into bulb development. Harvest when the lower leaves begin to brown, but several green leaves remain. Cure the bulbs in a warm, dry, well-ventilated spot for 2 to 3 weeks, then trim the roots and store in mesh bags or braids. Properly cured garlic keeps 6 months or longer at room temperature. A few dozen cloves planted in fall yield enough garlic to season your cooking all year and provide seed stock for next season. The 16th survival crop on our list is Egyptian walking onions, a truly remarkable perennial that belongs in every food security garden. Unlike regular onions that must be replanted each year, these hardy plants return on their own and spread gradually through your garden. The standard Egyptian walking onion variety produces green onion tops for fresh eating, small bulbils at the top of each stalk, and underground bulbs that persist year after year. They grow reliably in zones 3 through 9, tolerating cold winters and hot summers alike. Plant bulbils or small bulbs in fall or early spring, about 1 inch deep and 6 inches apart. By the second year, established clumps send up hollow stalks topped with clusters of tiny bulbils. As these bulbils grow heavy, the stalks bend over and touch the ground, where the bulbils take root and start new plants. This is how they walk across your garden over time. You can harvest green tops almost year-round in mild climates, snipping them like chives to flavor soups, salads, and eggs. The underground bulbs can be dug and eaten like shallots. Once established, a patch of Egyptian walking onions provides perpetual harvests with zero replanting, making them one of the most reliable crops for uncertain times. The 17th crop worth growing for survival is Swiss chard, one of the most forgiving and long-producing greens you can plant. Ford Hook Giant is a classic variety with thick white stems and large crinkled leaves that keep coming back after every harvest. Swiss chard grows in zones 3 through 10, handling both the cool weather of spring and fall and the heat of summer better than most leafy greens. Direct sow seeds 1/2 inch deep and thin plants to 8 to 12 inches apart. Like beets, each chard seed cluster produces multiple seedlings, so thinning is necessary. Begin harvesting outer leaves when they reach 6 to 8 inches long, cutting at the base of the stem. The plant responds by pushing out new growth from the center, and this cycle can continue for many months from a single planting. Chard survives light frosts and often overwinters in mild climates, giving you fresh greens when little else is available. The leaves are rich in vitamins A, C, and K, plus iron and magnesium. Both leaves and stems are edible, though many gardeners cook them separately since stems take longer. For continuous nutrition from a small garden space throughout most of the year, Swiss chard is hard to beat. The 18th survival crop to consider is apple trees, specifically storage varieties that keep for months after harvest. Gold Rush is an outstanding choice for survival gardens, producing crisp, tangy apples with exceptional keeping quality and strong disease resistance. Apple trees grow well in zones 4 through 8, requiring a period of winter chill to set fruit properly. Choose a site with full sun and good air circulation and plant in early spring or fall. Dwarf or semi-dwarf rootstocks keep trees to manageable size for easier care and harvest. Apples do require patience, as most trees need 3 to 5 years before producing significant crops. Once established, however, a single tree can yield hundreds of pounds of fruit annually for decades with basic care. Harvest Gold Rush apples in late fall after a few light frosts, which improves their flavor. Store unblemished fruits in a cold location just above freezing, where they can keep 5 to 6 months or longer. Beyond fresh eating, apples can be dried into shelf-stable rings, cooked into applesauce, or pressed for cider. Investing in a few well-chosen apple trees now means years of abundant harvests that strengthen your food security for the long term. The 19th survival crop on our list is blackberry or raspberry canes. These perennial brambles return year after year, producing heavy harvests of nutritious berries with minimal ongoing effort once established. Chester Thornless is an excellent blackberry variety for home gardens, offering high yields of sweet, juicy fruit on thorn-free canes that make picking painless. Brambles grow well in zones 5 through 9, adapting to a range of soil types as long as drainage is adequate. Plant bare root canes in early spring or fall, spacing them 3 to 4 feet apart in rows. Provide a simple trellis or fence for support, as fruit-laden canes can become heavy and sprawl. Most blackberries and raspberries fruit on second-year canes called floricans, so learning basic pruning helps maximize production. After harvest, remove spent canes at ground level and tie up new growth for next year's crop. A well-maintained patch produces for 15 to 20 years or longer. Fresh berries are wonderful, but for survival purposes, preserving the harvest matters most. Berries freeze beautifully, dry into shelf-stable snacks, or cook down into jams and syrups. Once your bramble patch matures, you can count on gallons of free fruit every summer without replanting. The 20th and final survival crop to grow is asparagus, a long-lived perennial that rewards patient gardeners with decades of reliable spring harvests. Jersey Knight is a vigorous all-male variety that produces thick, tender spears and resists common diseases better than older types. Asparagus grows in zones 3 through 8, tolerating cold winters and returning faithfully each spring. Plant 1-year-old crowns in early spring, setting them in trenches about 8 inches deep and 18 inches apart. Cover with just a few inches of soil initially, then gradually fill the trench as spears emerge through the first season. Do not harvest during the first 2 years. Instead, let the ferny foliage grow and feed the developing root system. By the 3rd spring, you can begin cutting spears for 6 to 8 weeks each season. After harvest, allow the foliage to grow all summer, storing energy for next year's crop. Cut back dead fronds in late fall or early winter. A well-established asparagus bed produces abundantly for 20 years or more with basic care. Few crops offer this kind of return on investment. Plant asparagus now and enjoy fresh spring harvests for the rest of your gardening life. And now for the bonus tip that serious survival gardeners swear by. If you want to dramatically extend the storage life of root crops like carrots, beets, turnips, and potatoes, try storing them in barely damp sand or sawdust inside food-grade buckets. The key is maintaining humidity around 90 to 95%, while keeping temperatures just above freezing, ideally between 32 and 40 degrees. The sand or sawdust holds moisture against the roots without letting them sit in water, which would cause rot. Layer your roots so they don't touch each other and check periodically for any that are softening. Using this old-fashioned method in an unheated garage, basement, or root cellar, many gardeners keep their harvest in perfect eating condition for 5 to 6 months or longer. This simple technique turns a fall harvest into food that lasts well into spring, bridging the gap when fresh produce is hardest to come by. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.